Have you ever felt ignored or overlooked, even when you've done your best? The story of Leah, Jacob's true first wife, is a powerful example of faith, resilience, and overcoming. Leah, often forgotten and underestimated, faced a life full of challenges and sadness. However, her story doesn't end there. Through her unwavering faith in God and her perseverance, Leah turns her adversity into an extraordinary victory. In this video, we will explore Leah's incredible journey, from her complicated marriage to Jacob to her role as matriarch of one of the most important biblical lineages. Discover how Leah found value and acceptance, and how her life teaches us that even in the most difficult situations, faith can transform any situation. Get ready to be inspired and learn from the story of Leah's troubled marriage to her husband Jacob. But first, leave your like on this video. That way you'll help spread this message of hope to more people. That said, let's get to today's story. It was a sunny day when Jacob arrived at his uncle Laban's house, exhausted from his long journey. He was fleeing the wrath of his brother Esau after he had taken the birthright blessing from him. As he approached the well where Laban's shepherds gathered, Jacob saw a beautiful young woman approaching with her sheep. It was Rachel, Laban's youngest daughter. At the sight of her, Jacob felt his heart race. Rachel was a rare beauty, with long, shiny hair and eyes that reflected the sunlight. Jacob fell in love with her at first sight. However, when he arrived at Laban's house, Jacob met Leah, Rachel's older sister. Leah had tender eyes, a feature that at the time was not considered attractive. While Rachel attracted all eyes with her beauty, Leah lived in her sister's shadow, her appearance often being compared unfavorably. Jacob, enchanted by Rachel, offered to work for Laban for 7 years in exchange for Rachel's hand in marriage. Laban agreed, and Jacob worked hard every day with the thought that he would soon be married to the love of his life. The 7 years flew by for Jacob, such was his love for Rachel. Finally, the wedding day arrived. There was a big celebration, and Jacob was looking forward to starting his life with Rachel. However, that night, after the festivities, and with the veil covering the bride's face, Laban committed an act of betrayal. He replaced Rachel with Leah, marrying Jacob off to his eldest daughter without him realizing it. When morning came and Jacob discovered the truth, he was furious and confronted Laban. Laban, however, justified his act by saying that in his culture, the eldest daughter should marry first. He offered Rachel to Jacob in exchange for 7 more years of work. Distraught, Jacob agreed, but Leah's life had changed forever. She found herself married to a man who didn't love her, and the beginning of her married life was marked by pain and rejection. Leah faced the difficult reality of living in a house where her husband, Jacob, continued to love her sister Rachel intensely. This betrayal marked the beginning of a life of challenges and trials for Leah. Although despised and often forgotten, Leah maintained an unshakable faith in God. She believed that somehow she would find her place and purpose within that complicated family. Her story was just beginning, and Leah was about to show the world that, even in the most difficult situations, faith and perseverance could turn adversity into great victories. Married to Jacob, Leah faced the painful reality of living in the shadow of her younger sister Rachel on a daily basis. Even though she was his first wife, Leah knew that Jacob's heart belonged to Rachel. Leah's days were filled with indifferent looks and gestures that constantly reminded her of her secondary position. However, she didn't let herself get down. Leah sought her place in Jacob's heart, and more importantly, she tried to understand God's plan for her life. God, seeing Leah's affliction, had compassion on her. He opened her womb, allowing her to conceive and bear children, while Rachel, for a time, remained barren. This blessing not only brought joy to Leah, but also made her feel valued. The birth of her children was a turning point in her life, a source of strength and hope. Leah gave birth to her first son and named him Reuben, which means, "Look, a son." She declared, "The Lord has seen my affliction. Now my husband will love me." Although Jacob's love didn't change immediately, Leah felt that God was on her side. Shortly afterwards, Leah gave birth to her second son, Simeon, whose name means heard. She said, "The Lord has heard that I am despised, and has given me this son too." With each son, Leah felt God's presence and favor, which strengthened her to face the daily challenges. The third son, Levi, whose name means bound, brought hope that Jacob would finally become attached to her. Leah declared, "Now my husband will surely cleave to me, for I have borne him 3 sons." Even so, the family dynamic remained complex and painful for Leah. Rachel, although loved by Jacob, felt the pressure of her infertility and the growing competition with her sister. Leah, for her part, faced the internal conflict of wanting to be loved by Jacob and at the same time dealing with the constant presence of Rachel, who remained her husband's true love. The birth of her 4th son, Judah, brought a new perspective for Leah. She said, "This time I will praise the Lord." And so she named him Judah, which means praise. With this son, Leah began to focus more on God and less on Jacob's approval. Motherhood became Leah's main source of strength. Each child born not only increased her hope but also gave her renewed purpose. Leah found in raising her children a divine mission, a calling that filled her with resilience and courage. Although Jacob's love remained a challenge, Leah knew that God was with her, blessing her and guiding her steps. Over the years, Leah learned that her worth lay not in Jacob's approval, but in the faithfulness of God who saw her and loved her. Each name she chose for her children was a testimony to her internal struggle, her search for love and acceptance, and her growing trust in God's plan. Leah persevered, and her unwavering faith became a powerful source of inspiration and strength. As the years went by, Leah continued to find solace and purpose in motherhood. Despite her personal challenges and the constant struggle for love and recognition, Leah fulfilled her role as a mother with unwavering faith and extraordinary determination. Through the children God gave her, Leah began to realize her crucial role in the formation of Jacob's family and in building a dynasty of faith that would influence generations to come. With the birth of each son, Leah saw God's hand at work in her life. In addition to Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Leah had 2 more sons, Issachar and Zebulun, and a daughter called Dinah. Each of these sons would play an important role in Israel's history. Leah's lineage would become fundamental to the establishment of the 12 tribes of Israel, which would be the basis of God's chosen people. Issachar, whose name means reward, and Zebulun, which means honor, were 2 more proofs of divine favor in her life. As Leah watched her children grow up, she taught them about the importance of faith, obedience to God, and family unity. She knew she was creating not just a family but a nation. Leah, with her quiet strength and deep faith, molded the character of her children, preparing them to be leaders of God's people. Leah also played a significant role in Jacob's life, even if he didn't love her the way he loved Rachel. She was the mother of most of his children, the woman who supported the house and the family. Through her perseverance and devotion, Leah earned respect and honor, even though Jacob's attention was often still on Rachel. Leah understood that her mission went beyond being a beloved wife. She was a matriarch, a woman called by God to establish a lineage that would have an eternal impact. Leah's sons grew up to become leaders of the tribes of Israel, fulfilling the destiny God had for them. Levi, for example, became the ancestor of the Levites, the priestly tribe that would play a crucial role in the service of the temple and the worship of God. Judah, perhaps the most notable of Leah's sons, would be the ancestor of King David and eventually of Jesus Christ. This royal and messianic lineage further highlighted Leah's importance in biblical history. Through her trials and triumphs, Leah became an example of faith and resilience. Her story teaches us that, even in the most difficult situations and when we seem to be overlooked or forgotten, God has a greater purpose and a perfect plan. Leah's faith, her ability to withstand adversity, and her role as matriarch not only shaped her family, but also left a lasting legacy for the people of Israel. Thus, Leah, Jacob's first wife, became a central figure in the history of redemption. Her life, marked by challenges and overcoming, is a powerful testimony to God's faithfulness and the strength that comes from an unshakable faith. Through her lineage, Leah built a dynasty of faith that would continue to influence and inspire generations to come. As the years passed and her children grew up, Leah began to realize the depth of the blessings that God had poured out on her life. Each of her children was living proof of God's faithfulness and a symbol of their purpose and value. Even with the constant challenges and complexity of her relationship with Jacob, Leah found comfort in seeing the prosperity and growth of her family. Leah watched with pride and gratitude as her children grew into men and women of faith and strength. Through them, she saw God's hand at work in ways she had never imagined. Leah was not only the mother of children who would form the tribes of Israel, but also a woman who, through her faith and perseverance, found her place and purpose in the divine plan. Each of her children, with their own lives and stories, reflected God's presence and promise in Leah's life. While her relationship with Jacob continued to be complex and often painful, Leah noticed a subtle evolution. Jacob, seeing Leah's loyalty and strength, began to recognize the crucial role she played in his family. Leah was not just a wife he was tricked into marrying, but the mother of his children, a woman whose faith and resilience sustained the household. This gradual recognition brought a level of respect and acceptance that had previously been lacking. In the midst of all this, Leah began to understand that her value did not depend on Jacob's love, but on God's faithfulness. She found a deep sense of purpose in realizing that God had chosen her to be a matriarch of great importance. Leah, with her struggles and triumphs, became a figure of spiritual and cultural importance. She was a woman who had faced rejection and adversity, but who, through God's grace, had found redemption and value. Jacob's acceptance of Leah was gradual but significant. He began to realize that Leah, despite all the difficulties, had been a solid rock in his life, a woman who had brought him strong children full of potential. Leah's presence in Jacob's family was indispensable, and her importance was undeniable. This recognition brought Leah a new level of acceptance and respect, not only from Jacob, but also from her family and community. Through her journey, Leah taught everyone around her the true meaning of resilience and faith. Her story was a constant reminder that God sees and honors those who are faithfully devoted to Him, even when the world seems to ignore them. Leah became a symbol of spiritual strength, a woman whose life reflected the redemption and acceptance found in God. Thus, Leah's redemption was not only personal, but also collective. Her impact resonated through the generations, inspiring those who came after her to live with faith and perseverance. Leah, Jacob's first wife, found her place of value and acceptance, not through human love but through divine grace, building a heritage that would continue to inspire and strengthen God's people for many generations to come. As Leah grew older, she could see the fruits of her faith and perseverance manifesting themselves in extraordinary ways. Her life, which began with so many challenges and sorrows, turned into a story of triumph and overcoming that would be remembered for generations. Leah is mentioned in the scriptures as a woman of great faith and determination, whose actions and children shaped the history of God's people. Leah's sons grew up to become leaders of the tribes of Israel, playing essential roles in the development and sustenance of the nation. Each of Leah's sons carried their mother's strength and faith with them, and this spiritual heritage guided them on their journeys. Reuben, the firstborn, had his own role in the tribe of Israel, as did Simeon, Levi, and the other sons. However, it was through Judah, Leah's fourth son, that her legacy became even more significant. Judah, whose name means praise, played a crucial role in Israel's history. It was from her lineage that kings and leaders emerged, including King David, one of Israel's greatest kings. Later, from her descendants came Jesus Christ, the Messiah, further solidifying the importance of Leah's legacy. Judah's royal and messianic lineage highlights the way God used Leah to fulfill His great purposes. I've already made a video on this channel explaining why Judah is the most significant son. There I tell the story in detail of why Jesus is called the Lion of the tribe of Judah. I'll leave the video in the cards above and also as a recommendation for you at the end of this video. Leah's story teaches a powerful lesson about faith and perseverance. Despite adverse circumstances and the fact that she was often ignored and despised, Leah kept her faith in God. She trusted that God had a plan for her life, even when everything seemed uncertain. Her unwavering faith and her ability to persevere in the midst of difficulties turned her adversity into victory. Leah found her worth and acceptance in God and this was reflected in her children and the lasting impact she had on Israel's history. Leah is an eternal example of how God can transform difficult situations into stories of great triumph. She is a witness that, even in the darkest situations, faith and perseverance can lead us to achieve extraordinary things. Leah's life reminds us that God sees and values those who are faithfully devoted to Him, regardless of human circumstances. Leah's legacy continues to inspire and encourage people to live with faith and determination. Her story is proof that God can use anyone to fulfill His purposes, and that true acceptance and value come from our relationship with Him. Leah, Jacob's first wife, became a central figure in the biblical narrative, whose life and legacy continue to resonate through the centuries, inspiring millions to live with faith, courage, and resilience. If you liked this video, leave a like and write in the comments what Leah's legacy means to you. See you in the next video. May God bless your life.